Hey everyone, it's Michael Kikle. I hope you're doing well today, and I want to make a video here to talk about my top 10 favorite movies I saw in 2024. Just a quick note up front, because this is the first video I've ever done like this for this channel. This is not about movies that came out last year in 2024. This is about stuff that could have come out a couple of years ago or within 2024. It could have been ages old. I have some that are closing on 100 years old, closer to 80, but who's counting, you know what I mean? I have black and white films, I have color movies, I have action films, westerns, creature features, monster movies, cop thrillers, so much shit in here. I don't even think I technically have a horror movie in here, even though there is a thriller involved here, or a couple for that matter. I have a lot of cool stuff. Last year in 2024, my big goal was to work through my backlog of movies, and I made a couple of videos on that so far. This year in 2025, I found out a lot about myself. I recommend that video about that in case you haven't seen that video yet. Pretty nice revolutionary thoughts about myself and what I figured out about my taste, my life, what life I have left in my world, because I'm 30 now. Jesus. The last year in 2024, I worked through my backlog throughout the entire year. TV shows, mainly movies, and I ended up at the end of the year watching a grand total of nearly 400 movies. Because I watched a lot of listen to me, rewatches of things for Halloween and Christmas, but a little bit during the summer too. But not so much. I watched a lot of brand new stuff to me, saw some movies I hadn't seen in a while that I had had in my backlog that I wasn't sure if I wanted to keep, and I wanted to give them one last try, you know what I mean? So I've watched and rewatched a lot of stuff, but closer to 350, 360 movies, I would say, were things that I just hadn't seen before, that I watched for the first time. Note, didn't finish all of those. I got about probably 30 minutes to halfway through a majority of them and just could not keep going. I rated them on IMDb so I could keep them part of the count, so I wouldn't make the mistake of going back and watching that shit in the future. But I did my whole ranking over the last day or so, really struggled to nail down the top 10, because there's a lot of classics I had never seen before, and I guess I'll do some kind of noteworthy runner-ups, if you will, before I get into my actual top 10 here. But do note, a lot of people say their top 10 of the year in all of their YouTube videos and stuff don't really matter on the order because they love the films regardless. That's not the case with mine. I saw a lot of bad movies this year, I saw a lot of good movies and a lot of great movies, and probably perfect movies, according to this list, in my opinion, this last year. And I really wanted to take the effort and really rake my brain and all of the creases within it to really give you a pitch-perfect list of what I think was the least favorite of my top 10 to my absolute favorite. So hopefully you enjoy the list. But I guess some of the runner-ups I'll throw out there for you are things like the Omen series. I got to watch the Omen movies in prep for the first Omen, which was also good. The first three Omen movies I loved. I had never seen them before. I saw little pieces, excuse me, little pieces of the first movie back in the day when I was a kid watching AMC Fear Fest during October for Halloween. And it looked creepy, it looked cool, but I'd never experienced the film. I got a Blu-ray set a couple of years ago, and man, oh man, the experience I had was wonderful. Some of the best horror films ever made. They didn't make the list though, the top 10. They almost did, but they didn't. There were those, there were the first Omen like I talked about. Trying to think of some other stuff. Troy, I rewatched Troy with Brad Pitt for the first time in probably 20 years. Excellent, absolutely excellent. I'm looking at a stack of things I'm giving away over here. I guess that's all I had right there in the front that I can actually see. Son of a bitch. Anyway, a lot of cool runner-ups this year. If you want a list of runner-ups, maybe I could do that. I don't think I will, but maybe. But let's go ahead and jump into my top 10 films I saw this year. One of these I have out on loan, so my physical copy isn't here. Just be ready for that. But again, I have many genres, many different decades and years, so there's all kinds of stuff in here maybe I could recommend to you if you want to branch off into other genres and subgenres and time periods that you've never seen, and maybe you want to try them out. Great films here, I promise you. Don't take this first pick as the taste for all of them, because I know people are not going to like this pick. I liked it though. Just saw it about a handful of days ago. I still count it as my 2024 list. Number 10 on my list is Fantastic Beasts 3: The Secrets of Dumbledore. Now, I love Harry Potter. I'm from the 90s. My generation grew up on Harry Potter. This is the newest film from 2022, the very controversial one that made the audience go so apathetic to it. apathetic, whatever that might be, because of what happened with Johnny Depp and Amber Heard and how they fired Depp from this movie and replaced him with Mads Mikkelsen. And I love Mads Mikkelsen, so I was still hands-on into this movie. Finally got around to watching it recently, and I loved most of it. I thought it was very tense. It has this whole storyline about Mads Mikkelsen's Grindelwald character cheating in an election, and it was really, really well done and engaging. Newt Scamander's back, his brother's back, Jacob is back. Dumbledore is here, played by Jude Law, trying to assemble them to get together to stop these guys from cheating in this Wizarding World election, and it was fucking fantastic. I was so sucked into this. Could not believe how amazing David Yates' directing was once again. Incredibly well made. Can't wait for part 4 and part 5. Cannot believe people hate this movie. Despite, I understand where they're coming from and why people turned against the series and this movie because of the Depp trial. And I understand there's other people too that feel like part 1 was a silly, goofy movie, and I fucking hate that film for just the point's sake of argument. But part 2, Crimes of Grindelwald, I really like a lot. That movie really improved the series for me. It had me excited to see this, and I'm glad I finally got to see it. But where most of these films I'm about to talk about, you can pretty much watch standalone, even if they are a franchise movie, this one you cannot. You have to at least see Crimes of Grindelwald to get into this. You don't have to see the original, 8 Harry Potter movies? You don't even have to see those to watch this, or the Fantastic Beasts series. But you definitely need to see at least Crimes of Grindelwald, the film before this. Really cool, big recommendation for me. Very slow burn, tense movie. Could not believe they made this in a Harry Potter release, you know? Alright, moving on to number 9 here. This is one that I never thought in a million years I would love. My dad gave me this set, alongside a bunch of other westerns that he loves quite a bit, and things he just wanted to get rid of. When he first started dating a girl and he was trying to move out to move in with her, he gave me a bunch of DVDs and stuff, and this is one of the westerns I watched this year that I thought were fucking phenomenal. Both of these on this set are good, but the one I'm about to talk about is Last Train from Gun Hill, starring Mr. Kirk Douglas. This is a revenge film. Kirk Douglas' wife gets murdered, and he goes after the guy who killed her, who turns out to be the son of an old friend of his, when he was like a bad guy, I believe, if I remember correctly all the details. It's been like a whole year since I watched this. This was like an April or May watch for me, if I remember correctly. Dude, the tension and the slow burn nature of this movie was so fucking intense, you have no idea. It was so frightening and insane and crazy. The build-up to the finale, and what you typically get with a western, not a western, where you have a shootout at the end, and in this case amongst two guys that used to be buddies, and all this family drama and historical local drama, how people knew Kirk Douglas in this place. Dude, even if you don't like westerns, you've got to try this out. It is so great in every way possible. Amazing movie. So going on to number 8 on my list, this is one that I loaned out. It's Godzilla x Kong, The New Empire. Dude, I was not expecting this to be as good as it was. Adam Wingard came back to direct this one, the guy who directed the previous film, Adam x Kong. Godzilla x Kong, which I loved quite a bit. Or Godzilla vs. Kong, whatever that movie was called. Loved that film. It's still my favorite of the franchise, despite my love for the 2014 Godzilla film. This was so fucking good. Everything from poor Kong and all the challenges he's dealing with to these new, like, hollow earth creatures deep down in the hollow earth. They're basically other versions of, like, a Kong, you know, like that Kong giant primate type of thing. The big bad villain, whatever he's called, the red-looking ape with the skeleton bone spine thing of some kind of lizard or dragon or whatever. This was such a great creature feature monster film. It's not really a Godzilla film. This whole franchise of the MonsterVerse movies have been hijacked by King Kong, despite his first movie in the series being terrible. Skull Island was terrible. Suck a dick if you think otherwise. I hate that movie. It's trash. But this movie was great. The way it handles Kong as a character, the CGI, the amazing music and all of that, just like Adam Wingard typically utilizes, is beautiful. The pinks, the blues, all of the things you loved about Godzilla vs. Kong, or whatever that previous movie from Wingard was, if you loved that movie, I promise you'll love this one. It's just as great in almost every way, despite a couple of problems, but for the most part, it's pretty fucking cool. It's badass. It's got so many great fights, man. It feels like the pacing is better. You have some returning cast members from Godzilla vs. Kong. I liked them being here. I thought that was nice because it felt more consistent to me than in previous movies where we kept changing up the cast and getting more bizarre characters that I wasn't really into all that much. But this movie, definitely a huge recommendation. But watch it on the biggest screen possible because it's so worth the time and the effort and the money if you can watch it at like a theater or something. Or if your friend has a massive like 100-inch screen in their house or their basement or something, go over there. Go see it there. Moving on to number 7. I would argue this is probably my favorite comedy of the year because I love this style of film. I don't think it's going to be for everybody. But my number 7 pick is National Lampoon's Loaded Weapon 1, starring Sam Jackson and Emilio Estevez. Yeah, did you know these two did a Lethal Weapon parody together? Dude, if you love cop movies, if you especially love Lethal Weapon, like I said, this is hilarious. It's from the guys who are doing a style of parody comedy, kind of like The Naked Gun. If you love Naked Gun, if you love Hot Shots and Hot Shots Part 2, I think is how you say that title of the sequel. If you love those movies, if you love superhero movie or scary movies, this is for you. It is so fucking funny. It's so great. Basically, somebody is making like drugs out of Girl Scout cookies or vice versa. And Danny Glover, his type of character is in here as Sam Jackson's character, who's a little bit older, a little bit more trained, and his partner, Whoopi Goldberg, gets shot and killed, and he wants a revenge for her. Emilio Estevez is the Mel Gibson character from Lethal Weapon, and he had a dog named Claire, which is great, because that's the name of the wife lady who died in the Lethal Weapon movie. Claire the dog ran away, and he's really pining for her to come back. He misses her. He wants to kill himself over his dog leaving. And the parody on Lethal Weapon and cop movies in general, Dirty Harry, even down to Die Hard, is phenomenal, dude. There's a bunch of cameos in here, just so you know. And I'm going to tell you, one of them is Bruce Willis, and when you see it, you will laugh so hard. This is one of my favorite comedies I've ever come across. I saw a little bit of it, maybe the first 5 or 10 minutes of it, probably 4 or 5 years ago, and I never got to finish the movie. It popped up on my Amazon as a recommendation, I guess because your phones listen to you nowadays. Saw it pop up as a recommendation on Amazon, and I was like, bro, I've got to get that. I asked my mom for it for Christmas, she bought it for me, and thank you, Mom, it was just as funny as Rachel and I, my wife, thought it would be. Loaded Weapon 1, definitely watch this, dude. If you want a good comedy, make you laugh your guts out of your asshole, that's the movie to watch. I gotta move my list closer to me. I'm getting a little, it's written in green, so like I'm having a hard time seeing it. It's a very light lime green. All right, number 6 on my list is a Will Smith film that I think he should have won Best Actor for, maybe Best Picture that year. I don't know what it was running against, but I'm fairly confident this is probably better than anything that came out that year. And that is Pursuit of Happiness, starring Will Smith and Jaden Smith. A man, played by Will Smith based on a true story, he basically is a door-to-door salesman for hospitals who's trying to sell this equipment to hospitals and to some doctors. He's having a really hard time. He can't get rid of the stuff. It's just sitting around bogging down his house. His wife leaves because she doesn't want to be a mom or a wife anymore, and kind of understandably so. He was not really a great husband. He wasn't really making the effort that he should have to try to take care of his family. But the wife leaves, and he tells her, you're going to keep my son with me. I'm going to be his dad. I'm his father. I'm taking care of him. This is a father-son movie, but it's especially about a man who then is inspired to try to become a stockbroker of some sort. And he has to do a whole intern program for a year without any kind of pay. So he's having to do his regular job that he's already terrible at, he's not making any money off of, but also try to do this internship that he's really struggling with between schedules, between his other job, between being a dad, taking care of his son, trying to have friends and family help him out if he can. This, in a lot of ways, is the It's a Wonderful Life of nowadays. It really is a magical, wonderful film, and I would argue it's probably the best performance I've ever seen from Will Smith. Huge fan of him. Even Jaden Smith, as a kid, did an incredible job with the film. It's wonderfully written. It's wonderfully shot. If you want a film that's going to kick your nuts into your throat, you know, from downward upward, this is the movie to do that. If you ever have a bad day and you want to see how much worse your life could get, watch this film. It was made for that, like It's a Wonderful Life. It's supposed to encourage you and inspire you to not only follow your dreams if you actually have talent, but to also be thoughtful, treat your people around you well. You know, your wife, your kids, whoever. And not to forget about them. It's about life choices in general. Pursuit of Happiness is amazing, and I cannot believe I did not hear people rave about this movie when I was growing up, man. It's so good. People always rave about 7 Pounds. Fuck 7 Pounds. That's a shitty Will Smith movie. This is so much better. It really is. Alright, with that being said, let's go ahead and move on to number 5 on my list. This is a Kurt Russell film that my wife got me in this 4-pack. I think it was for Valentine's Day or Christmas or something. And that movie is called Executive Decision in this 4-pack. It's up here. I'm going to tell you, this is a thriller that made me sick to my stomach. Not because of gore, not because of blood. This is a pre-9/11 Islamic people taking and hijacking an airplane while it's up in the air. You have Kurt Russell in here as kind of a negotiator guy, or whatever he is, some kind of government worker, sneaking onto the plane when the terrorists don't know about this. Sneaking onto the plane, having to hide in like the rafters and like the basement area, the carrier, whatever it is, on this plane while it's still flying. Steven Seagala's in here for like a few minutes, and it's great what happens to him. I'm sure he was not happy about that at all. But it is truly the most tense movie I think I've ever seen in my life. Made me, again, and my wife too. We were going to go to bed, we put this on for a few minutes, and we were so wrapped into it the night that we watched it, we couldn't go to bed without finishing it, because it was like an hour and 40 minutes of just utter terror. The shit that could happen in this situation in the skies, and how these guys not only had to try to handle the terrorist threat, they had to protect hostages, and they had to be quiet while doing all of this, trying to make a plan for that matter. Putting cameras through walls, drilling holes in the walls without having too many noises and whatnot so they wouldn't be busted, because the terrorists told everybody, hey, you're not allowed to talk. Dude, Executive Decision was absolutely fucking terrifying, and I mean that. Probably one of the scariest movies I've ever seen in my life. If you're not biting your nails off by the end of the movie, there's something wrong with you mentally. I have never in my life, out of all the horror movies and thriller movies I've ever seen in my life, I've never had an experience like that in my lifetime. And if I had seen this in theaters when it came out in like 96, 98, whatever it was, I would have been traumatized. I really would have. It was horrific, dude. And Kurt Russell, amazing in the film. John Leguizamo was in this as one of the Special Forces members, or Special Ops members, whatever. He's great in it. I'm not even a fan of that guy. He's an asshole in real life, but I loved him in that movie. So, yeah, huge recommendation from me. Going on to number 4 on my list, this is a Christmas movie. I did not expect to talk about a Christmas movie in my list here. It is in a 4-pack here that I picked up. It's really an 8-pack, but it's 4 on this particular disc. And it's called The Great Rupert, right here. Now, The Great Rupert stars Jimmy Durante, who sings Frosty the Snowman, as many of you know. This is a black and white film. I did not know it'd be in this set with all these Hallmark-looking movies. By the way, The Man Who Saved Christmas and Borrowed Hearts are good in case you want a decent Christmassy movie to watch maybe next year. But The Great Rupert, from the fucking squirrel on the cover of this terrible Photoshop thing that looks nothing like the actual movie itself because it's in black and white. There is no Santa Claus in the movie. Basically, Jimmy Durante and his wife and their beautiful daughter come back to like New York City or something, and they need a place to live. And an old man that they happen to know that had a pet squirrel that would tap dance for him, and it's a stop motion, by the way, he got booted out and had to tell his squirrel to go off into the national parks to just go do his thing, be a squirrel, you know. The old man's homeless now, whatever. He's going to go try to find a real job now, pay back the old rent he owes his old landlord and whatever. And when he comes across this family when they just got back to town, he tells Jimmy Durante and his wife and kid that they should go to that place because they could probably rent that place fairly well. But Jimmy Durante and his family are really close. They're sweet people, but they're kind of scammers, you know, like a little bit. Like you feel that in the air when they're talking to each other and how they're going to do things. They kind of like to lie just to try to get their foot in the door about places with jobs and whatever. They go to that landlord's place, they talk to his son first, and the son immediately tells them, yeah, you can stay there, because he saw the beautiful daughter, and he was like, whoa. There's an element of a love story in here. But anyway, the squirrel makes its way back to that house where it basically grew up and learned to tap dance and stuff for the old man. And it's a very sweet movie, excuse me, where this squirrel goes up the rafters, hides in a crack in the wall, and the landlord, who's kind of a grumpy asshole, unlike his son, or even his wife for that matter, he begins to take money he gets basically weekly from like gold bonds or war bonds or something, and he hides it in the baseboard, and it becomes a blessing that that squirrel gives to that family who just came into town, Jimmy Durante and all of them. Dude, this movie was not only touching, but it was so funny, it was so sweet, it was heartfelt, it was a beautiful, pretty much a Christian movie in a lot of ways. Without talking about Jesus every other scene, it was very much about relying on God for blessings. It was such a sweet, powerful, engaging movie that I laughed my ass off. Jimmy Durante's already a genius when it comes to his talent with music and singing and content, his acting, his jokes, all of it. Dude, if he doesn't have you rolling watching this movie, I don't know what to tell you. But again, it's a very touching, sweet film that really hit me in the heart by the end of it. Not just because I'm a Christian, but because the movie just has so much to offer. It's so well shot. The message by the end of it is so sweet and beautiful. I loved The Great Rupert. If you haven't seen it, you're absolutely missing out. All right, number 3 on my list, The Last Samurai, starring Tom Cruise. I had seen like a couple minutes of this in collective over the years. Like, I had never seen the whole film, never even saw up to 10 minutes of it. But it used to play on TV all the time. I think AMC's channel. And I've always wanted to see it. I've always liked like samurai stuff. It appeals to me just like Egyptian culture does. And I've always wanted to see more of it. And I heard this movie was supposed to be like amazing. Dude, it was phenomenal. It was absolutely amazing. Probably the best Tom Cruise performance ever. It's not even so much about samuraiism as family is really the theme here. Regret. Maybe grief about things you've done in the past, since Tom Cruise used to be in like the Civil War or whatever it was. And he's trained to go train some people, and then eventually becomes a samurai himself. It is such an amazing film. It's about friendship with another character who ends up being a good guy here, Ken Watanabe. That's not a big spoiler. That happens very early on in the movie. But Tom Cruise dealing with like his alcoholism early on in the film, and again, that regret of the things he's done in the past that we don't even really know about. It blossoms not only into a friendship thing, but also a love story with one of the family members of Ken Watanabe, who is also amazing here. Probably the best movie I've ever seen him do as well. This movie blew me the fuck away. I never could have thought in 3 hours of my time that this could have been as incredible as it was. Even on DVD, it's a blow. It'll blow your balls. Or, oh my god. It's gonna blow your mind all over the wall, not blow your balls. If you love the movie as much as I did, maybe it did blow your balls, but it's incredible. I loved it. It was so fucking great, dude. That's one of those films, as well as the next 2 movies I'm about to talk about, that I don't think I'll ever see anything like those 3 in the top 3 ever again. In the future upcoming list, in the future of top 10 for 2025, and so on and so on. Unless I have some really obscure great movies thrown my way from you guys or somebody else, random hidden gems from Goodwill or something, I don't see it happening. That I could have anything be as great as this is. But anyway, number 2 on my list is one that I've wanted to see for a long time. It's from a very kind of bad director that I don't really like all that much. Not as a person, he seems cool, but it's Training Day, because I almost flipped it up above the screen to show it to you. David Ayer, Training Day, starring Denzel Washington and Ethan Hawke. Ethan Hawke is new to this like detective thing, undercover cop stuff. Denzel Washington is his current partner who's going to train him a little bit. And they're out on the streets. They're involved with drugs and I guess a little bit of a lot of crime stuff. I don't want to go into too much. It's more of a thriller than anything. And I'm going to tell you, Training Day, amazing. A lot of people probably think it's heresy to have this above Last Samurai in my ranking. But dude, holy shit. What a movie. People have raved about this forever. And matter of fact, I got this from a Target when they were still selling Blu-rays and DVDs. I've had this for probably 8, 9 years in my backlog, and I finally got around to it. Dude, it blew my fucking mind. I love cop movies. Probably my favorite of all time is either Imperium with Daniel Radcliffe, yes, Harry Potter himself, or probably maybe the Ray Liotta film. Shit, what is it called? I love it. I've watched it a million times. God damn it, I can't remember the movie, but it has Jason Patrick in it as well. Narc. Narc is amazing. I also love that Johnny Depp film where he played Whitey Bulger. Black Mass, is that what it's called? I love movies like that. I love Goodfellas, love a lot of Scorsese stuff. This is right up there in that ballpark if you love that kind of thing, and dude, it's fucking incredible. Just go in knowing nothing aside from the obvious about undercover cop stuff. It is amazing. And I think David Ayer even wrote this too, if I remember correctly, dude, and it was just shocking. The twists in it, the turns, the way it's shot. Oh my lord. It's one of those movies like Denzel Washington's other film, John Q. If you haven't seen John Q, man, you're missing out on a great movie. Denzel always delivers. Ethan Hawke is just, he's so good here. It's one of his best performances ever from both of them. It's a shocking series of events if you haven't seen it before. Alright, let's move on to number one, the final of the list, the one that I think is probably the best movie I saw this year. I am fairly confident, as I've mowed it around in my brain the last couple of days, I don't think anything in this stack or anything else that I saw this year came close to how amazing and impactful and beautiful and sad and just life-changing this movie was. I believe it's from 1943 or 45 or something. It's from the 40s. It's called the Oxbow Incident. Holy shit, dude. The Oxbow Incident sounds like an awful title. Absolutely does. Let me tell you, this movie is about some murders happening. It's a Western, sorta, kinda, but not really. This is another one of those films my dad gave me that he had from his collection. Decided to watch it like this summer to get it out of the way, and it shocked the fuck out of me. It's a very short film, like an hour and 10 minutes. I've never seen anything like it. It's beautifully shot. Basically, it's kind of maybe a semi-mystery, but not really. It's not your traditional Western of like ends up in a big shootout type of thing. Good guy versus bad guy, Roy Rogers singing. Nothing like that. It is basically, to me, the original To Kill a Mockingbird. That's basically what it is. And that doesn't spoil enough of it to really get engaged and see what's going on. Basically, some murders happen locally, and a bunch of guys in the town, pretty much all the men in this small town, build up an angry mob, and they go after the three people they think who did it, and they find three gentlemen who are very strange and acting very bizarre out in the wilderness, and decide to hold them captive and eventually bring them to death. And there's a lot of discussion on, did they do it? If they did do it, how did they do it? Are these the right guys? Whatever. It is, with the current day culture that we're in, not just with like cancel culture, but like in previous years, just holding everyone up by the nutsack over the smallest accusation, not even giving people a chance to defend themselves over any accusation thrown their way, either on social media or in real life crime sprees and perfect, world scenarios and whatever, in suburbs, in ghettos, anything like that. The Oxbow Incident is a movie that I think personally, just like I've said about It's a Wonderful Life in the past, needs to be a movie that we teach about in school. We need to show this to every kid before they leave the public school system. Every adult should have to see this at least once in their life. Every person, I guess is what I'm trying to say, needs to see the Oxbow Incident to really get a grasp on how important justice really is. Dude, this would be Batman's favorite fucking movie. You know what I mean? Like, the Oxbow Incident, I did not expect to have my feet kicked out from under me the way that movie did. For a black and white older movie, I don't experience this a lot with older movies. And I watch a lot of black and white films, westerns, especially horror movies, that kind of thing. Very rarely do I have one that just blows my mind like this, or blows my balls, like I talked about earlier with some of the other stuff. I am so in regret that I've never heard of this movie, that I've not been able to enjoy this movie over and over again because of how shockingly upsetting it is. If you don't feel something in your human soul deep down when you finish this movie, or even up into the beginning of it when all this mob justice stuff begins, fuck, man, there's something wrong with you. You don't have a soul if you don't feel something watching this movie. It's wonderfully made, perfectly acted. I don't even know what to tell you, but easily, best movie I saw this year is The Oxbow Incident. I don't think any of these movies come anywhere close to how shocking this movie is. Dude, you don't even know what you're into. I think it is a total like an hour and 10 minutes, I think. But anyway, take my recommendation, watch this, watch all of this stuff, but watch this movie especially. If you're going to take anything from my list to hear me out on, watch this fucking movie. It'll blow your mind and your balls at the same time. Somehow, someway. It has two mouths. I don't know. Anyway, put in the comments down below now that I'm done what your favorite top 10 movies were that you saw in 2024. They can be old, they can be new, and kind of expect this kind of video every year in 2025 because I don't really go to the theaters very often. Great example, I saw Wolfman today. Fucking sucked. It was awful. I hated this shit. And I'm a Lee Winnell guy, you know what I mean? I love his work. He's part of like the holy modern day horror trinity with James Wan and fucking Mike Flanagan for me. And it sucked. It was an awful movie. But I don't really go to modern movies because of this reason. And this kind of stuff right here, piled up in my room, in this basement here, it isn't my room, but in my house, is just, this is the kind of stuff that I live for. The kind of reason why I collect physical media, the kind of thing that, like, if the Oxbow incident popped up on, like, fucking Netflix or something, no one would watch it. This is the kind of thing you randomly have somebody give to you, or you buy in a lot by accident on eBay, or you find in a Goodwill and it just kind of looks interesting. Maybe you're in a Western mood and you grab it. Ends up being your favorite movie of the year. Dude, what a year for movies for me when it came to backlog of the good stuff. There's a lot of shit that I either watched all the way or fucking could not bring myself to finish. A lot of black and white films. And I love black and white films. There was a lot of shit in like these Mill Creek 50 movie entertainment whatever series of movies that I just fucking despise in every way possible. But there was some great finds. This top 10 really shows that for me. Recommend them highly. Please check out all this stuff. If you've ever seen any of these things, let me know what you think about all of them down below. Then again, if you have a top 10 yourself, I would love to hear your list down below too on what you picked up, what you watched, what you loved, what you hated. Let me know all that down below. But anyway, thank you for sitting through a long, rambly ass video. Tried to be as vague as I possibly could with all these things, and I hope that entertained you in some way. Tune in for some more videos. I'll try to get some more out for you soon. Not just about movies, but maybe some just discussions about news videos and news articles and anything that comes out about movies and shows and stuff, like this Daredevil Born Again trailer I did a video on just previously to this. So anyway, thank you all for watching, guys, again. God bless you all. Catch you later, and goodbye.